Hey friend, John McLennan here, and in this video I want to share with you 5 myths about the CAGED system for guitar players. Now there are a ton of videos online talking about the CAGED system, and in this video I want to point out 5 downfalls that I see with a lot of my students who start working on this, and also with a lot of the lessons on YouTube as well. So let's get straight into it here. The first myth is that it's just the chords. So a lot of the times when a teacher is explaining the CAGED system, they will say, it's all just these chords: C, A, G, E, and D. Now, the system is based off of those chords, and what you do is you work them out on your entire fretboard and you make those open chords movable. So, for example, you have the C, and then you could play the A shape like this, and then the G shape like this, the E shape like this, and the D shape like this. So there are a ton of videos that explain it and show you how the chords connect up, and then they say that's it. But really, in my opinion, if you know the CAGED system, it is not just the chords. In fact, it's an entire framework for laying out the neck, and with each chord shape, so if I played this, which would be the A shape here, I'm not just gonna play the chord, but I'm also gonna know the major pentatonic scale that goes with that chord shape, and that would look like this. I'm also gonna know the major scale, the full major, so that would be the shape for that position right there. I'm also gonna know the arpeggios, so that's gonna be the notes C, E, and G here like this. So myth number 1 is that it's not just the chords, but it's also all the notes that you can typically associate with those chords as well. So that's the first myth. Now before we go on to the next one, I want to give you a gift if you're new to the channel. I put together this awesome resource that shows you the 5 chords and scales that I use to map out the entire fretboard. And it's going to tie right in with this lesson and really help you out, especially for the CAGED system. And I want to give it to you completely for free. Just go to johnmcclennan.com/fretboard guide or click the first link down below as my gift to you. Myth number 2, and I run into this so often with students, is they think I have to use these full chords in songs that I play, these big CAGED shapes. And they get worried, and I would get worried too. In fact, I still get worried. A lot of these chords I don't want to use in songs. Let me give you an example here. Let's say I took this G shape like this, and I moved it up, to make it movable like we would in the CAGED system, and I would play a chord like this. That is not a practical chord for me to play. I can't really think of many tunes that I use that in. I would just use a capo instead of trying to play something like that. But the idea is that you actually visualize the shapes on the neck, and in my CAGED guitar system, which I have on my website that goes into over 6.5 hours of detailing this out, I break up the shapes and I play them in more just practical chord voicings. But then you also want to be able to, as I said, visualize that full shape. But you don't have to play it in a song. As I mentioned, a lot of these shapes, like this shape here, the D shape, that's a pretty advanced shape, and it's not that practical. Myth number 3 is that it doesn't apply to the music that I play. So this is something that I hear often. you know, students will say, well, you know, I play more R&B or I play more jazz, and so I'm not going to use chords like CAGED, because why would I play, you know, C, A, and G? Those are the cowboy chords or the folk chords. But the truth is as I mentioned, it's not just the chords, it's also the scales. But when you really understand this and everything builds on the basic chords, you'll learn that even if you do play really advanced harmony, like let's just take this C chord here, and let's say we want to spice it up. We play a C major 7, which would be a chord I might use in, you know, an R&B tune or a jazz tune. That to me is still based off this shape, which is still the A shape. You know, the parent A shape here, and then I've moved that up, and then, you know, you can just alter it slightly, but I'm still visualizing that position and that shape. And you'll find that even in the most sophisticated jazz music, you're gonna find still triads and different bass notes. So you still might have that C chord, but you might have a different bass note in there, so it's still gonna connect. Now, unless you're playing Indian music or you're playing something that is just pretty out, you know, most of the stuff that I teach on my channel and Western music, the CAGED system works beautifully for. Myth number 4 is that it will all make sense instantly. And, you know, once you understand CAGED, boom, everything clicks and the light bulbs turn on. Now, this is true to some degree, but it's also like learning your entire fretboard. So you learn the framework, but it's something that you're gonna develop, and I'm still developing. You know, we're all still working on creating these systems and ways of understanding the fretboard. You're gonna work on it for years, but the idea is that it gives you a framework. And the 5th myth I wanna get to is that it's the only way to learn the neck. This is not true. And if you've watched a lot of my videos, I do talk quite often about how I use the CAGED system. So when I'm playing a song, I'm seeing part of these very simple open chords in whatever I'm playing, but it's just one way of looking at the neck. Now, it's a way that's worked for me. It's a way that's helped a lot of my students, so that's why I share it, but it is just one way. So think about it like this. Let's say you were learning the alphabet, okay? Now, when I learned the alphabet, you know, I started A, B, C, D, you know, and went from there. But what if someone decided to go backwards and start with Z? Or what if someone learned it by starting in the middle and they said, okay, I'm gonna start with H and then C and then, you know, Y, but at the end, they got all of the same notes. The CAGED system is like that. It's just one way that is, you know, a way that makes sense for me, but it's not the only way. And in fact, I've spent a lot of time studying the guitar neck from different angles. So those are the 5 myths that I wanted to share for the CAGED system. And the goal is that you can learn from these and not fall into these mistakes, and you don't have to struggle as much as I did or as much as some other students. We can all share and keep moving forward together. Now, to help you put this together even more, be sure to grab my fretboard guide at the link in description. And this is gonna help you so much more with this. It's gonna show you the 5 chords and shapes that I use and give you more of a system for laying out the fretboard. Just go to johnmcclennan.com/fretboard guide, and you can download it right there as my gift to you. And this is gonna be one of the most useful PDFs you can have. And as I mentioned, you'll just keep it on your music stand, keep it on your desktop, and you're going to keep developing your knowledge of the fretboard. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and for more improvising and soloing videos, check out this video next.